One area that has to improve, it was solid in 2025. It's got to get better. That's the offensive line. Let's talk about that coming up next here on Locked On Sooners.
You are Locked On Sooners, your daily podcast on the Oklahoma Sooners. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Once again, thanks for making Locked On Sooners your first listen every single day. Shout out to all the everydayers out there tuning in. Subscribe to the show wherever you get your podcasts. We're part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. And go check out the Everydayer Club, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer club. For $5 a month, $50 a year, you can get ad-free audio from Apple, Google, Spotify, wherever you like to download and listen to podcasts. You can get it there. You can also get a link to a members-only Discord. Discord is an app that lets you do all kinds of stuff, but it's basically for us, it's a group chat. It's a great place on your phone, on your laptop, on your computer, where you can just dig in and talk ball, talk puck, talk hoop, whatever you want to talk with everydayers across the Locked On network. Talk smack, you can do that. And there's all kinds of good stuff happening in the Locked On Everydayer chat on the Discord. So again, lockedonpodcast.com/everydayer club for $5 a month, $50 a year to have all of that access here as part of the Locked On Podcast Network. So Jay, when you were out of town, I started to think about the offensive line, and I started to think about how they were young and they were good at times. You know, this was a team, especially in pass protection, they were pretty good. Gametime had plenty of time. They needed to improve as a run blocking team. How much do you think year 2 in the strength and conditioning program is going to benefit guys like Michael Fasusi, Ryan Foje, Darius Afalava, Jake Maikkula? If you forget, he didn't come to Oklahoma until the summer. So that's a guy that didn't spend time in the strength and conditioning program. How much will that benefit this young offensive line to get another year of college football strength and conditioning? And what might that do for their run game in 2026?
Should be a huge one. Like, for example, Troy Everett was one of your better blockers, especially on the run when he was healthy. And remember, he came in 2023. He was undersized. And be honest, when he first started playing at guard, he was getting beat up. Even in the Big 12, he was getting tore up. Texas was tearing him up. You had to take him out, pull him in, put in the freshman Caden Green, who came in ready at the size, and ended up transferring out. But that next year, when he got to working, he got the size, he got the build, he got bigger. You're like, okay, so what's next? Well, he ended up getting hurt in the spring. You had to go get Branson Hickman to come in as a replacement. But as soon as he got healthy, right around there with a Tennessee game, he played the rest of the season, and he was out there mauling folks. Like, he was the one that was actually getting you some really good push, especially in like the Alabama game that we won, just running the ball basically the entire game. You got that from him. And then coming into this season, the expectation was similar. Until he got hurt, you were expecting him to continue that growth. And so I think Maikkula will see the benefit from that as well. He dealt with some stuff to where he had to come out. He didn't play in the last couple of games. Fabechi Wewu played in that role, and you saw that growth from him as well. Wewu really grew. Kate Matauer really grew when he was here. So those transfers that come in, and even the young players, you're seeing that growth out of them. All you got to do is get them healthy, though. That's the biggest thing. Like, Heath Ozada was dealing with injuries and stuff. But now, with the way that these players came in, I'm thinking with the strength team, John, the expectation now is for them to go out there and be nasty and maul folks. You got 4 players coming back from the starting lineup. I kind of have a feeling that they're going to be able to do that.
Yeah, you think about Eddy Pierre-Louis, and he didn't arrive until the summer of his freshman year and didn't play a whole lot. Played a little bit in the main game maybe, and then 1 year in the strength and conditioning program, midway through or not even midway through the season, he becomes a starter for your offensive line. So now he's going to have his second year in the strength and conditioning program. We just saw Indiana go win a national title. A lot of it is just physical maturation. You've got to have guys that are physically developed to be able to play ball in the SEC or in the Big Ten and at the college football playoff level of competition. And yes, you can have a freshman starting for your offensive line and be able to run the football. But if you have 3, they're just physically not going to be quite where they need to be yet. But with time and development and going into year 2, I think Michael Fasusi is going to be a stronger player than he was this year. Ryan Foje will be. Eddy Pierre-Louis will be. Jake Maikkula will be, and that's going to help Oklahoma's running game be better than what it was last year. And we talked about it, man. That's the area of this offense, despite all of the additions of Trell Harris and Parker Livingston, Hayden Hansen, Rocky Beers, the run game improving. That's the area that's going to make the biggest difference to this thing in 26.
Even adding a guy like a Marion Harris, like you think about it, he comes from the SEC. He's been in SEC strength and conditioning programs. He's at Arkansas. Arkansas did pretty good in running and passing. I mean, they just weren't consistent. And he came from an O-line coach in Pittman, who, just did not finish off very well. But at the same time, dude's known for his offensive lines. His guys were still getting pushed and doing well. I mean, Isaiah Statania came from Arkansas for us, and look at how he was able to propel himself year one in the system with Arbuckle. Now they just got to get everybody consistent, man. It's so continuity helps. I know a lot of people aren't that happy with how the offense performed last year. Cool. You weren't happy with the way the offense performed in 2022 either. But guess what? In 2023, guess what they did? They got better. That's what it matters. By a lot. 2022 wasn't that good. 2023, oh my God, there was a completely different animal. Give it the second year. Let us have the second season. And the schedule is going to be a lot more favorable in comparison to this past year. Even though, as we tried to warn y'all, the schedule this past year wasn't as bad as we thought it was going to be. There was a lot of holes in there that, we going to continue to toot our horn on that. We kept warning y'all. This coming year, it'll be similar because you're going to have a lot of change that we'll be going up against. That's beneficial to us, especially in a year where we have a lot of continuity. If there's one position that I'm never concerned with bringing a bunch of transfer portal players in at, it's wide receiver. They're the ones that usually are the easiest to get going, especially if you bring in guys as Kurt Signetti did at Indiana. I'm going to keep referencing that because I want you to understand the mindset that you're going to start seeing going forward with people is get dudes with production. Get dudes that actually already produced. Still develop your young players. Find a way to get them on the field, kind of like you say, John. You got to find a way to get them on the field. But the problem you run into trying to force them on the field at the wrong time is you don't really get good execution. Get those guys with production, they'll execute, which opens the door for the young players to get a chance to play. That's the one thing we got to keep our minds on. Wide receivers, the one position I ain't concerned about. Because those dudes, usually if they got production, they know how to execute. And so we should be good. Offensive line concerns me. But the good thing is we got 4 dudes coming back.
Yeah, that's the area where you feel comfortable is that you have guys that played well. They weren't bad. Like I understand that we couldn't really run the ball. That's an area that has to improve. But they were pretty good as a run blocking unit. And Oklahoma's offense was able to do some things. It wasn't like the 2024 offensive line where it struggled for half the year and you couldn't do anything offensively, right? Yes, you started to run the ball a little bit better in the second half of the season, but still, like that LSU game at the end of the year, you couldn't run the ball on LSU. It was a struggle. So, yes, the offensive line has to improve, but there are some really, really strong building blocks that are going to get stronger this offseason, and they're already putting in the work. Like day one, school started on Tuesday, and Oklahoma football released a video of those guys in the weight room already. So they are not resting on anything. Yes, they made the college football playoff in 2025. That guarantees nothing for 2026. They got to go prove it all over again. And the work's already started. So, hey, this is a team that, listen, they're about that grind mentality. And I think Brent Venables has set that thing in motion. And I expect Fasusi to get stronger. I expect Eddy Pierre-Louis, Jake Maikkula, Ryan Foje, all these guys to get stronger and be better in their second year, third year, fourth year with this team.
Yep. That's exactly what you're going to be getting. And so now as we turn the page, we're now in the 2026 season, folks. It's time to focus on the future. Last season's passed, 10-3, another 10-win season. It's two in his 4 years here, which we should have gotten at least 9 in all 4 years, but that's okay. We're now moving forward. We're moving forward with Brent Venables players and the staff's players. We've got that continuity. It appears that they're on the same page. Let's see what happens.
And before we officially move forward, let's look at the final AP and US LBM coaches poll coming up here on Locked On Sooners.